Luke and Jess built their tiny house on a 7.2 metre protruding wheelguard trailer in Victoria and then towed it from Victoria to Brisbane. You might have seen them on Facebook or Instagram as Luke and Jess for Less, or more recently as Life of Less. In this interview, Luke and Jess speak candidly about their journey building their off-grid tiny house with the support of their families, and then transporting it up to Brisbane and all the various stresses that were involved in that. And they discuss what it's been like to live in a tiny house as a couple and how living in a tiny house fits into their bigger life story. There are lots of funny and relatable moments in it, so I hope you get a lot out of it and enjoy listening to it as much as I enjoyed recording it. I'm Shannon Schultz from Fred's Tiny Houses. I'm lucky enough to be able to talk to people about their tiny house projects every day, so it's really nice for me to be able to go back to the people who've bought a tiny house trailer from us, taken one of Fred's courses, they've gone on to build their tiny house, and I get to call them up and interview them and find out what it's really like to build and live in a tiny house here in Australia. This is a series that isn't trying to sell you the idea of tiny houses. Instead, it talks about the realities of building and living in a tiny house. It's an opportunity to get real so that you can approach your tiny house project with a sense of preparedness for what's involved and a realistic take on tiny house building in Australia. I hope you get a lot out of it. Let's dive in with Luke and Jess.
Journey begins in probably early 2018, possibly end of 2017, but it was very early on just a dream, just something that we were noticing that was happening in the USA and Canada, that these beautiful little tiny homes were kind of popping up on YouTube and the TV, and of course on social media. So at the beginning it was just a discussion about what they are and that they look so cool and would be awesome. And then it sort of shifted towards, well, hang on, we're currently stuck in the rental market in Melbourne, adding up what we've been spending on renting each year and for how many years, and going, well, we could probably actually have a lot of, money to either put a deposit on a house, or if we're looking at a tiny house, we have really spent the money to build a tiny house already. And if we're thinking about staying here for another 3 or 4 years, we're going to be doing that twice over. So we started to turn to a kind of financial conversation. Probably throughout the last few years as well, we've been on like a journey of like learning about, what's going on with our climate and, the health of our world. And that was just becoming more and more important to us to do something about that, to make sure that our footprint on the world was reduced as much as possible. So that kind of got added to the equation. And then we just sort of started looking into it in terms of the possibility in Australia. And at the same time, unbeknownst to us, Luke's dad was getting interested in tiny houses. So we were having conversation and Luke's dad and mum were having conversations, and it took a little while for us to realise that we were both interested in it. Yeah, so Luke's dad, Ross, mentioned that he'd found you guys, or Fred's Tiny Houses, and that he had a visit with yourself and Fred coming up. And so we tagged along to that.
Yeah. That's the first time I think I've been to Castlemaine. It was
beautiful.
A nice time.
It was really exciting, and obviously we saw your home, and we had a really long conversation and coffee with you guys, and realised that like it was actually so much more possible than we realised. Yeah, and that we kind of had the savings sitting there that we were thinking would be going towards our first mortgage, and we realised that would actually pay for our first home if we went tiny. So that's sort of where it the decision to move forward and make it happen kind of clicked in.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to just note at that point that as a couple, the only thing we bought together was a mattress for $1,000 mattress or something. So going from that to that commitment to building this house and going on that tiny house journey was a pretty big deal. So it was a big step, and don't regret it one bit. But that's the sort of point we're at, I guess.
Yeah, I think we've probably been dating for 4 or 5 years and living together for 2.5 years. Yeah, like I guess the longer you spend with a person, the more your values and interests align. And yeah, it was not something that existed at the beginning of our relationship, but it's certainly just how we've both kind of evolved.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for sharing that, because I feel like it is a big decision, and it does mark a time, doesn't it?
Yeah, so from there we met with you guys, Castlemaine, and Mum and Dad and us. We were talking about it, and Jess is sort of convincing me, tugging me, going, "Come on, Luke, let's do it," you know. And for me, I think the financial side of things was like a big winner. Like the fact that we knew that we could essentially make our money back by not paying rent in the future. So I felt like that was really safe for us to do, and it's been a really good decision in the end, I think.
I knew I wanted to study my honours in psychology.
Right. Yeah, true.
And while I applied in Victoria we had friends that were moving up to Queensland, and we knew that there was programs up here for me to do. And we knew that with living permanently in a tiny house or caravan, that there were councils up here that were kind of that precedent had already been set, that there were tiny houses in this area. And they were, able to live here with council approval. So all of these kind of factors, and then just the fact that we were like, well, we're young, we haven't got all those commitments, we can up and leave and try something new and try a new kind of way of living. So the decision sort of evolved to build the house in Victoria and then take it to Queensland and live here in it, which there was just so many, I guess, levels of why that made sense for us. But another one would be that, the weather permits you to be living outdoors a lot more than back home in Vic. So, we knew that we'd be really comfortable in terms of the weather here and the lifestyle and
climate.
Yeah.
And to add to that, Brisbane City Council, the rules around living in a caravan are quite good as compared to a lot of councils around Australia. So if you're not a nuisance, if you're disposing of your waste correctly, you can live in a caravan in Brisbane City Council. And it's so big that meant sort of, I guess, our catchment area for finding a place to put the house was pretty large. I mean, that was probably the scariest thing, thinking about where we were going to put it, but and had the most doubt, because you can doubt about building a house, and then you put nails in and you go, okay, no, we did that. But the fact that we were still trying to find land was always that little bit of unsure sort of undercurrent of where are we going to end up. But Brisbane was a really good option in terms of our target market, I guess, for the spot.
We purchased that trailer with about a 6-month timeline, knowing that we'd have to kind of get the trailer, start the build, finish the build, leave our jobs, move out of our apartment, downsize, and tow the house to Queensland. And that all happened.
That sounds so stressful to me.
I think that seems like it's probably a bit of a pattern for us, isn't it?
It is. It's like we find ourselves in a comfortable position and we just look for some sort of risk or challenge.
I think challenges are definitely the more positive version of that. But I guess projects and things like that motivate us. And so we bought the trailer, so we were able to get underway in about September.
So we were doing weekends.
Yeah, it was weekends up until
December, so 2 months or so.
We were there every second weekend, and those weekends were brutal. It was leave on a Friday night and wake up as early as possible on the Saturday and work the Saturday and Sunday to start on things like the subfloor and those bits and pieces we could do. And then you get to Sunday and we drive home at 5, 6, even sometimes after dinner on a Sunday, and we're just driving so tired. We were just exhausted. We always slept really well on a Sunday night and then back into work on a Monday. So,
I'd almost say that was less exhausting than when we went full time though.
Yeah. We were like, this is going to be way better when we start building every day.
There was so we were both still working in Melbourne and renting in Melbourne. And I was also studying at the same time towards that final few months of the year. I think it was the reason we got through it was because it was 2 days of something really different. So we were energized and we were like leaving the city and leaving the mundaneness that we had for quite a while. So that really sustained us. But yeah, then in December towards Christmas, we both left our jobs and then built full time for about 6 weeks, we think.
6 weeks?
December, January, maybe it was more like 8.
Yeah, I think it was about 2 months. It was about 2 months. And that was 2 months of
7 days a week.
7 days a week and sort of varying from 8 to 14 to 16-hour days. You know, like it got to points because the time pressure was so great. And admittedly, I think that's one thing that we regret, that we didn't take more time on it, because I think we really did push ourselves. Like we both had like trigger finger from painting. Like we'd wake up every morning and go, oh, I can't straighten my fingers. And then they go, and then you're okay. But like we pushed ourselves.
Yeah.
Luckily had a lot of people helping. So Dad and Mum were always around because we were staying at their place, and that was so nice of them, and we're really grateful that we got to stay there and had that platform. And then Jess's parents were very regular visitors.
They would drive about 6 hours to spend a day and a half helping, and then drive 6 hours home.
Yeah.
Thanks, parents.
Yeah, so good.
Actually, my brother and sister-in-law just happened to be living half an hour away. So our families live 6 hours away usually, but he happened to be living in Shepparton for work. And so I was actually able to see him more than I would normally.
Yeah.
And, his partner and my little niece and nephew. So, we weren't complaining about that at all. Hey, that was really great.
Really nice,
yeah.
So it was a really good time around family. And I think that's probably something that we would say to people is you do have to lean on your family and friends if you want to do it that way. If you have the platform yourself, the land to build the facilities, but it really made it easier and realistically made it possible that we had all those helpers, because we wouldn't have got it done in that time otherwise. You know, like I said, there were days where we'd start at 6 a.m. and then work through the day, you know, power tools, big jobs, and then sort of the late into the evening, you know, doing sanding, painting.
Partly was it consideration to neighbours, or was it just consideration to your muscles that you got to do a different thing?
No, the neighbours was the only thing stopping us from probably working through the night.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, it's probably a blessing in disguise in some ways, like you said. But,
forced rest.
But yeah, the physical toll was pretty significant building like that. And so that's, I guess, another reason why we probably would recommend taking your time a bit more, because, you know, my shoulder was sore from drilling into our frame over and over again.
Same. I had to go see an osteo twice from
just
painting.
had it from painting. And I mean, it was probably we're doing things, you know, like rookies. Maybe we weren't so ergonomic, and so
our muscles didn't get preparation.
They certainly weren't
for
used to it. So
you're sort of getting the training, the physical training in the process of doing it. But then, it is really important, I think, to build in rest times so that it is more sustainable and you don't burn out and then have to face it all again.
That's it. You can't work 7 days a week for a period
much longer
like that.
than what we did.
You just,
and we were, by the time we left, like the excitement was a lot lower, because it was more about the stress of
just getting it
done,
then,
like still painting things, you know, and putting in skirting boards the day before we left, and then just getting up and back to the car. So we wouldn't recommend that timeline to people. I think it's about finding that sweet spot of enough time to do it right and to be okay and be well, you know, to push yourself a little bit so that you can get in it and start living in it as soon as possible.
Whatever it takes to maintain that excitement for you as well, that passion and the energy you get from it.
And you had quite a few people on your team.
Probably 80% of the building time was us, mostly alone, or with Ross, Luke's dad.
Yeah.
He would have to be the hero.
Dad came home after working all day and then did, put in an extra 5-6 hours sometimes with us.
Just come and do one job or 10 jobs. And
it was like having Dad around to just, because we knew how capable he was, we could just say, oh, look, if you could really just concentrate on this bit, get this architraving done or something that he likes doing. And it was just awesome to just have that support as well.
We did have probably Luke's cousin was an electrician. He came probably
a really big help.
3 days or so to just completely wire our house. That's something. Luke, you assisted.
I was the apprentice owner. It was a really strange dynamic.
Yeah.
I was telling these people I'm making decisions but not making decisions.
I think a lot of people end up sitting in that apprentice owner position, and it's awkward, right?
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time, Jake, he's an expert. So when I say making decisions but not making decisions, he'll say, what do you want to do with this? And I'll go, I want to do this. And he goes, well, actually, I thought it was better this way. And you go, okay, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with an expert. So it was quite easy for me, but it was great to learn, to be so hands-on that side of things. So I know where everything's running in the house, and the same as our friend Alex, who did our plumbing, and he was so great. He was driving from Melbourne to do that.
He probably did 2 or 3 days as well.
He did 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And at one stage, in our rush to get the bench top, what was it? We were doing something. He was doing the oven, and I was building the bench top, but we needed the bench top built so that he could put the gas burner. So we were rushing to do that, and I stepped off the veranda and just absolutely destroyed my ankle. I don't really know how it didn't break. I thought it was proper. I thought it was broken when I did it.
Another reason not to rush, because injuries can happen.
I had a history of my ligaments just taking the brunt of the force. But anyway, went to the local hospital, and in the meantime, between me actually hurting myself and then sitting on the veranda, I knew how crucial it was, and Alex's time was so crucial that I finished cutting the bits for the bench top, but I sat there with ice on my ankle and said to Alex, just screw those bits in there, screw this. So he screwed the bench top together and then put it in for us.
So our plumber turned into a carpenter at the last minute, just to help with the emergency situation.
And that's one example of many, many people doing things like that for us. So we absolutely a community build.
Yeah, it was, but at the same time, most days we were on our own. It was kind of maybe a Saturday or a Sunday, whereas Monday to Friday we were predominantly on our own.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a community build, but also the majority of the man hours would have probably been us too.
Oh yeah.
And then Ross was definitely our hero in his expertise and his time that he put in, and because he's building a house himself, a tiny house now. So for him it was obviously about helping our dream come true, but he could learn from our mistakes as well and see it come together, which has really, been helpful for him in his build now.
Yeah, that's so lovely. You've got so many things on your side in this story. You've had a place to stay where you can build. You've got people around you, and you've got each other, which is so lovely. You had a financial setup because you'd saved for a house. And then you also had a big motivator. So, you had a time. So it sounds like a really good combination of things, and basically just a lot of people who love you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're just excited for us too. And wanted to see it happen and be a part of it. So yeah, we were very, very lucky.
Oh, what about the transport? How did the transport go?
Yeah, we have a few transport stories.
It's always the fun bit, isn't it?
Yeah, so we actually left for Queensland without our tiny house because the person who was due to pick it up was not well, and so the business was trying to find a replacement driver. So that took 3 or 4 days, which ended up being okay because we had time to get to the site and try and flatten it out a bit and prepare for it to be there. Whereas if it had have rocked up on the same day as us, we probably would have, been a little bit frazzled by where to put it and how to, secure it in place. So, that gave us actually time to think in the end. But, we had, I guess it's hard to find I don't know of such thing as a professional tiny house tower. So we were really relying on just explaining the situation, explaining the house, you know, what we needed, where it needed to go, and just working to find someone who could do it.
That conversation's always funny. Always like, have you heard of a tiny house on wheels? And they go, what? Or some people go, yeah, I know them. Are you a gypsy? Or it's just really funny what you get back from people.
Yeah, so like a caravan.
I always describe it like a house on wheels or an apartment. Or a very fancy, well-built, solid, heavy caravan. If you need to call it a caravan.
A lot of people, like when they ask us about it or even, you know, asking around the quote, they assume that you want to put something on top of a truck, which would be over the legal limit because the house is just under as it is on the ground. So it's having to explain to people that, it needs to be towed. It needs, you know, the right brake connection. It's at this legal limit. So, that's, I guess, another one of those areas where there's no, like, special place you can go and get the perfect answer or get the perfect person. It takes a lot of work to find, the right person, and you just kind of have to trust, I guess, that will work out. And we're lucky that it did for us twice.
And each time the house travelled really well. We had to find someone locally who had a 70 mil ball to get us out to a weighbridge before we left, because we wanted to weigh it as it was finished. It was 4.48 tonne, so it was 20 kilos under the. Yeah, exactly. That was the
stressful.
Such a stressful day. I don't think I breathed that whole day, or until the house got back. And
that was the first time we'd seen it move as a tiny house and not as a trailer with a frame on it.
Yeah, and we were thinking, like, is the glass just going to spontaneously shatter, or is like
the tiling fall apart?
The tile wall that Jess worked on for 3 days, is that going to just crack and be terrible? But
is it going to hit the power lines? No. But it was nothing went wrong.
Yeah, even the whole way to Queensland.
The only thing that happened was the windows.
One of the windows came open,
but we taught our driver how to break into the house.
Well, get into the house.
Because we had to take, because of just, I think, the way that our door handle is, it couldn't travel with the door handle on because it protruded out slightly. So we actually had to remove the door handle. So we had to sort of teach him how to put that back on and get it working.
Yeah.
And he actually pulled over and had a sleep on our bed.
he got it there and he goes, our bed was really comfortable. We were like, okay. Yeah.
We had a nap on there.
Fair enough. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. And he rocked up wearing like board shorts and thongs. Like he had driven his truck in thongs, and I just couldn't believe.
We were there like, please get here safe, please get here safe. And then he rocks up like, how you going? And we're just,
Yeah, he had a lot more confidence than we did.
Absolutely.
So you definitely want someone who is confident.
Yeah.
And I think, just to interrupt for a second, I think that there have been more people who've put themselves out there since you've done that move, because it's been a few years now, that are specified tiny house towing companies. But I think still at the same time, like this, what you're describing is so true, that you have to be the expert on what is needed and how to explain it. And I can't just assume that everybody agrees on what a tiny house is, what it's going to take, and what the tow ball is, what sort of connections it is. It is just a conversation that just you have to take on as the consumer.
And several times, that would happen. Someone would come, like a tow truck came once and said, oh, no, can't do that. My tow ball doesn't extend in a certain way, or it's too low, or it's too high, or whatever it is. There's always these little things. So yeah, you're right. You have to be so clear about your expectations of them and what they need to bring and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And some people we found, just because it was a new thing, they just felt like it was too risky for them. Like they
uncomfortable.
They just didn't know how to transport it. They couldn't guarantee that it would get there safely. So the people that we used the first time had done tiny houses before, and I think they have marketed themselves as being able to do that. And the second person,
that must have been in Queensland. That
was a local person. We were we were up against it because we had parked slightly on a hill. So we would tell people to park on a flat space because we had all this rain, and to get the tiny house out safely, it had to go up the hill to come back down the hill. And so many people were just not willing to pull the heavy load up a dirt hill.
No,
understandably.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
So we needed someone with like a specific
needed a four-wheel drive
truck.
So we found a guy who worked for a charity, Ocean Crusaders, who do river and like waterway cleanups.
We were like, that's just meant to be. That's us.
Sounds about right. And he was so great. He came out with his big four-wheel drive truck that they drive on like Fraser Island, sand truck, very capable, huge thing. The tow ball was scarily high. And so when they rocked up, it was this guy and I balancing the tow ball on like a four-wheel drive jack and like getting it on, and the hill's wet and it's slippery, and it was just horrible. That was probably the most stress I've had in years and years that day. But
those things aren't to do with the house. It's obviously the environmental things that you need to consider.
It rained for 5 days before we wanted to move it, and we were on a hill. Like that's not a good situation regardless. But this guy was really capable and got us out of that tight spot that not many other people could have.
And we did nip a couple tree branches on the second trip.
Mm-hmm.
We thought we were going to nip a bunch of power lines in the residential area that we moved to, but it didn't happen. It just looks like it's going to happen. So
it's weird that, it's not weird, I guess. The power lines are obviously quite high, and that's why you have the legal height limit. But things like some telephone cables or like Foxtel cables, things like that, hang a lot lower. And so those were quite close to the house. And so driving down the little street, we were thinking, you have everything, you're sort of slowly driving under, you go, is it going to get it? But
it got here fine.
Yeah, it got here fine in the end.
Property we bought back in Gippsland is basically the only thing in the town is the train line, and it's just a highway town.
Don't mind the sound
about that. Your next bit.
Yeah. So it's really all happened in the last couple of months. Yeah, the plan was that I would potentially do my master's in psychology up here, which is a 2-year commitment. And then after you finish the study side of it, you tend to try and find work for 2 years and need to be supervised for that first 2 years in the field. So it is sort of like a 4-year journey. So we were very open to staying here and doing that and continue to live in the house, which as a full-time student, that was awesome last year for me.
We had just thought about what we wanted to do next, and we had this list of this property in our mind that we want to buy. Jess likes little cottages, so we thought, find somewhere with an older cottage that we might be able to fix up a bit on a bit of land, put the tiny house at the back, build a big garden, I guess, and so we sort of had that dream. So in October we found a house that ticked all our boxes, was near family, and we bought it sight unseen. We got Jess's dad Danny to have a look through with like on just a Zoom call. And, we trust them. We haven't even seen it yet. So
guys, congratulations. It's not unlike you though. Like I get it from your story that you just take a leap.
Yeah. And we attribute being able to like buy that house to living in this house for 2 years. So
totally.
If that's the only thing we got out of this, that financial gain, then it would be good enough.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not.
It's
like
really
we've learned
more,
so much living here, and it has changed our lives in a lot of ways. But it's really cool.
There's the option to move the house back and put it on the block that we bought. But that is 2.5 hours away from where we're going to need to be for the next 2 to 4 years for my master's. So it, while it could get use after 2 years, we feel like it's not going to get a lot of use in the next little while.
Yeah, so we made the decision that to sell the house and sell it up here in Queensland so that we could sort of have a bit of a clean break and move on from it. And we figure if it's not going to get much use, it may as well be used by someone else who's excited and wanting to live that life for a bit. So very happy to hand that over to someone
And then on top of that, like selling the home, we now have, that additional, I guess, footing to either go towards the mortgage that we now have, or to build something else like a little tiny cabin or a bus we've talked about doing. Yeah, or just sort of supporting us to live in Melbourne for the next 2 years. It's been a huge decision, and we're sort of classic us. We haven't had a lot of time to think it through. We've got an offer, had to make a decision and accept. We had to tell our workplaces, and now we're looking at relocating within 4 weeks of making that decision. So
it's so whirlwind.
I think we're painting a picture of us being like really unstable people. I swear we're not.
No, I think what you're displaying is you're summarising the high stress events of the last 4 years or something, and they make for great stories. So thanks for sharing. It's really helpful.
And it's also like, it's stressful, but it's the reason we're doing it is because our dream. It's like, it was our dream to live in a tiny house, to move interstate. It's my dream to do my psychology studies. It's our dream to live near family and to own a little cottage. And, it's kind of, it's stressful, but it's really about like, that's just us making our dreams happen, and they've been changing and evolving. And so we just kind of jump into, just make it happen.
That's it.
Yeah, it's really remarkable. I admire you both very much, and I kind of envy you in the sense that I wish I had my tiny house back before we had children, so that we could have used all of its benefits as you have, because our tiny house journey was very much cut short by us also being in the process of having babies, so we quickly outgrew our tiny house. And yet, I could see that if I'd had it at any point in my 20s, I would have just been in heaven and been in such a better situation financially and emotionally, to have the security of knowing where I'm going to be. And can you reflect, if you can, how the space has impacted the way that you relate to one another?
Yeah, I was reflecting that you have a lot less privacy in your relationship. Whether that's like how you're feeling, your mood, thoughts, the things that are, stressing you out, or things that you've got to do, the other person is just right beside you no matter what, in the good times and the bad times. So, and that kind of extends to just, like your day-to-day privacy, and that we've learned a lot about each other that in an apartment we would probably be side by side but also live separate lives in a way. Even just things like, being in your bathroom or in your kitchen space, where that might usually be your zone for a certain amount of time, it doesn't really exist in the house. So, we were kind of joking that even like, what you see, hear, smell about each other, that just amplifies. But so, you kind of just, I guess, you lose a lot of those insecurities in the early relationship where, you don't want to show so much of yourself maybe, or be so vulnerable that you kind of like forced into that in this space, which thankfully for us we've survived and coped with, and we just know each other inside and out. And we've got a kind of humorous approach to that, I guess, and it hasn't been a huge adjustment, but it's definitely a reflection of something that's changed.
I don't like, obviously like our bathroom door closes, but we were thinking the other day, like, it's going to be weird to be in a house that is separate rooms. Like, it's because it realistically is one big room. Like, we can't both be on the phone to like at the same time. It's quite difficult. So I think the sound thing and having like a separate space is a big one.
We might miss each other.
It'll be weird. It'll be weird getting. We escaped a little bit. Like, I had a shared office for some days if we both had to be on a phone call, and you do learn to like escape to outside. And I remember a long time ago we were talking with you, and you said, if you have a fight, you've got it's like a pressure cooker. You got to deal with it because you have to live, like, you have to be in the same room again, like.
And at the time, that wasn't relevant. I was like, no, I can't see that. But now.
Like you have a disagreement about something, or you do something to upset Jess, or vice versa, and then you just have to address it. because I've got to go, I want to go and sit on the couch next to Jess. I can't storm off. There's nowhere to storm off.
Nowhere to go. It's just next to each other still.
Yeah, just do a lap of the garden and then come back. Yeah, I'd feel better.
Thankfully, it's not often. It's more when I'm on night shifts now. If you get tired, like things happen, or if you're making these big life decisions, you have those stressful times. So what we've probably learned is that, we kind of have it out, and then maybe there's 5 to 10 minutes of not talking in silence, and then it's just kind of like, okay, well, this is, what happened, and kind of just getting through it and the forgiveness, and then you just move on with your day.
Totally. I can completely relate to what you're talking about. Just that time that I would indulge myself in feeling shitty would just go really small. I'd just go...
And then I think the only other thing was like Luke's grown up being a musician most of his life, and so I think that's what probably you've struggled with, hey, is not being able to play music inside the small space, and so he has to find those pockets of times where I'm at work or not here. We've made do sometimes, but I find like the sound of the guitar in the house is really loud. So I kind of have to, either put some music in or just not be in the space because it's just a lot. So, and then you've got your keyboard as well that you like to bring in and play, but to set it up, it pretty much sections off part of the access of the house. So you've
got to have small hobbies.
Yeah, small hobbies. Flute, maybe play the flute.
Quiet, small hobby. Yeah. Learn to knit, do colouring books.
They're good selections of hobbies, yeah.
Bird watching. Definitely the noise factor for us was a big deal, which is ironic because Jess fell in love with me because I used to play a song.
Yeah, you serenade.
What do you mean you want me to stop?
I think I sound really evil now. It's not. I love him and I love his music, but it's just the sound of it in the house is just very echoey.
Yeah.
Someone is that you design your space for your hobbies and interests and the way that you live currently. In whether you're in a house or an apartment, you've got to look at what's the space that you're using most of the time. And for us, that was the couch and the kitchen. We would meet up at the couch and spend our time together on the couch, essentially. Those were two of our biggest things. And for me, like being comfortable, having a comfortable bed and
sit up in bed.
Yeah, everything from like the height of our roof and where things are placed, and the side that Luke sleeps on is the side that's a little bit taller because he's a bit taller. We literally designed this space for us.
And designed it for full-time living. If you're wanting to live in it full-time, think of exactly how you use your current living space and adapt that down.
Yeah, I think that's a really great set of advice. Also, just that you're using the word current. You're not talking about aspirational. You're saying, like, what do you do right now? Because realistically, it's not going to change a great deal over the next 2 to 3 years, So if you plan it for now, that's what you can actually rely on. That's stuff that you know about your life.
Yeah.
At the end of that building process, did you end up thinking, goodness me, I wish I was better skilled at X, Y, and Z, and I would advise people to go and take a course on X, Y, and Z before starting?
I don't think so. Yeah, I feel like, we did Fred's course, and that gave us such a good grounding in the world of tiny houses and how they come together and that sort of thing, and just building in general, which I didn't own a drill before we started the process, so like that's the level of skill I had. So it was all new. Mostly like we picked it up from research and having a go at it. And obviously relying on a lot of people who were helping us, people like Dad who had those skills who, I've built a wall before, or I've done that before. Just do this. Or I'd call, you know, like my dad's cousin who's a builder and say, how do they do this in the building industry? And you know, you can find the information somewhere, but you've got to be good at sourcing it, I guess.
I feel like that was the biggest thing for us, and the biggest thing that we see with other people who maybe reach out to us with questions or with their dreams, and they you know, want certain information, is that the reason that I guess our dream came to fruition was the research that we did, the time that we put in, and the experts that we engaged. And, you know, we didn't have carpentry skills or plumbing skills or whatever, painting skills even, but we would research every single element until we were confident we could do it, or at least have a trial and error type scenario. So I think it was less about having practical skills and more about putting the time in to research and get it right. And we see a lot of people like on social media asking questions, you know, on Facebook groups and things. And to us, it just feels really risky because you get a lot of opinions and not necessarily a lot of facts or clear answers. So for us, that having that grounding in Fred's course, and just talking with him and visiting with you guys and seeing your house, and every step of the way, just consulting with people and putting the time into research was how we were able to do it without any skills.
Yeah, wow, you've done so much to get there.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Shannon. That's so nice to hear.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I guess you just go on living and you forget like the journey that you went through, and the pain and the joy of it all. So it's nice to reflect. Maybe Luke won't forget very easily.
There's some scars there. And you have to take your tiny house build 2 days at a time. It's a little play on a phrase, because you have one day where you work all day. You work all day and slave away, and nothing goes right. And you get to the end of the day, there's no visible progress. It's terrible. And then you wake up the next morning and you work that day. And at the end of that day, you go, oh, my God, now that wall is up, or now that's happened. And it's so joyous and so happy that it makes the previous day that was a bit crap worth it.
Yeah, totally. It just sort of like you get that floodgate of it breaks open, and you suddenly things come together and you have some sense of achievement.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible. You can totally do it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and look where you can go once you've done it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Boom. Hey, thanks so much, guys. I'm going to let you go. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, definitely.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
If you'd like to see some pictures of Luke and Jess and their tiny house, you can jump over to the Fred's Tiny Houses blog, where we have some pictures of them. You can also catch them on the Fred's Tiny Houses YouTube channel, where we've got a video version of this interview and a few other videos with them on their way to building their tiny house. So check that out. The links are in the show notes. Candid Tiny House is brought to you by Fred's Tiny Houses and Tiny House University with the course How to Build a Tiny House, the Australian online course. All the people that we interview for the series have taken a workshop or the online course and have built on a Fred's Tiny Houses trailer. The music for the series is by Scott Buckley. I'm Shannon Schultz. This episode was recorded and edited on Jara country, and we pay our respect and our appreciation to the custodians of the land and the living culture of the Dja Dja Wurrung people. Please share this episode with anybody you think might enjoy it, and stay candid.